Hello.
Hi, we are Doctors Jennifer and Jake Dean Hill, and this is the Doctors J and J podcast. We are so excited to be here with you today. We are both licensed therapists. We work together, we live together, we lead together, so we understand the challenges of being able to work peacefully and harmoniously together. We have come up with a simple, concrete solution. It's called Wear Two Crowns.
Wear Two Crowns is all about equity, learning how to bring out the strengths in each other, and learning how to share the power in the relationship so that we can all be better together. Each week, we're going to give you tips and tools and strategies and even personal stories to help you wear two crowns. And we're going to invite experts in the field of relationships that will help to educate us, inspire us to wear two crowns as well.
Yes. So tune in each week. We look forward to our time together. Hello, and welcome to the Doctors J and J podcast.
Today, we're going to talk about parenting again because you know what? Parenting is hard.
Without a doubt, it's truly probably the hardest thing we've ever had to do. The most rewarding and the hardest. It brought out the worst and the best in us, did it not?
It did. And I realized that we make it harder on ourselves, and we realized that we needed another episode on parenting because there's a lot of things still to cover.
There really is. And Jake is right. We do make it harder on ourselves. And we've identified things that we've not only seen in our personal parenting, but also in the parenting of the parents that we've dealt with for over a quarter of a century here. That we're all saying the same thing. And it is hard. It is challenging. It is something we want to just nail. We don't want to mess up. We don't want to wreck our kids, bring them to a therapist, right? But it's something that we all mess up in, and we don't do it perfect. And we have to start with that belief system that we get to be imperfect.
Exactly. We get to be imperfect. We get to make mistakes. And boy, have I made mistakes.
We both have.
And even though it's the most rewarding thing probably I've ever done, just raising amazing kids, it's also so challenging. And probably the thing that was hardest for me was boundaries.
Yes.
I
Oh my gosh.
really sucked at setting boundaries, and I learned so much from you, Jen.
Well, thank you, Eddie. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Because I think you had so many skills from being a former teacher and classroom management and those things of really setting clear expectations and consequences and all that. And I think I was more caught up with trying to be our kid's friend sometimes and forgot to be their dad who had boundaries and limits and help them to know what to expect. And so, man, did I have a lot to learn.
Well, it is funny. We both look at each other and think, well, I'd love to raise kids with you now. I mean, I think we have so much more wisdom.
We're not starting over.
We're not starting over, man.
So.
We checked that box. We did it. It's been great. And but I thank you for that, honey. I really appreciate that. That was something that I did have some professional training in. I will say, though, too, that I think it's also more common for women to be able to have more experience with children simply because of babysitting, and we get put in that role a lot with cousins and different things and parents' friends. So I think there's some of that too that you just kind of learn organically. But then sometimes people are better at boundaries and some are not. It's just something that we can struggle with. That tends to be something I can do pretty decent in, but not with people that I really love or maybe am wanting to have approval, which sometimes I haven't been as good at setting boundaries with you. I'm getting better.
No, I hear you. And I think, like you said, we can learn from each other. And one of the things I noticed with a lot of parents, and I noticed that with us, is that sometimes one plays the rigid boundary person and one plays the fluid, the permissive parent as opposed to the disciplinarian parent. And I feel like that dance that we do is very common. And
I see a lot, and I know with us too, is this compensation that happens
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
where one parent is super strict and the other parent feels like they have to be a lot more laxed or fluid or kind of easier.
Yeah, that's true. It's kind of bad cop, good cop type.
Exactly.
And I do think that we see couples going in and out of that quite a bit. I think of ourselves, because we did that shared parenting where whoever wasn't at the office working, the other one was home parenting.
Right.
So it took a tremendous amount of coordination and collaboration. But I think sometimes we switched roles on that depending on the issue or the topic. And sometimes your boundaries would get really rigid with the kids. And I would say, they've only been on this planet for 2 years, right? And you're like, oh, yeah, that's right. They're just a child, right?
No,
And
here's
it's
the
like,
line you always said, honey, that's age appropriate.
It's true.
And she would remind me,
Yeah.
that's age appropriate.
Right.
They're
right.
supposed to be destroying everything in the house because that's the age that they're at. And I would be expecting them to be teenagers knowing exactly what would break, when, and where.
This is true. Yeah. So, yeah, that's times that I would come in and give you a different perspective. But at least I tried to really make sure that I didn't undermine you in front of the kids as much as be able to pull you aside privately.
That is key.
Yeah.
That is hard to do. And I know I haven't always done well at that, but how many times do you hear parents in your office going, "Oh, I'm getting corrected in front of the kids," or "They're undermining me in front of the kids," or
Right.
And
yeah,
or the kids, the kids are master at splitting parents.
they are.
So if somebody's going to be split, if there's a chink in your armor or there's a sliver, I always say, parents, man, if there's a sliver of light in between you,
They're going to paper cut you.
Yeah, the kids will exploit that.
They will.
And so that's why, gosh, it's so important that you're together and you join forces and you don't allow that splitting,
the division. Yeah. And what can happen, and this happened in our relationship, like with our boundaries, one of us might be more rigid, and there was times when Jake was a little bit more fluid or relaxed is probably a better way about the boundaries. And then I would get really rigid and feel like I had to be like do parenting for the two of us, right? And it kind of put me in fight or flight, which would put the kids in fight or flight, and as well as with Jake's survival mode. So having that self-awareness is good, but also having that grace for yourselves and as parents. And Jake's right, when it comes to splitting, that is really uncomfortable. And it is, real quick, I want to back up too, though. Well, no, excuse me. This is actually a point with the splitting that I want to speak to, is that if one parent starts to undermine the other parent, then you have to come out and start undermining that other parent in front of the kids, because it starts to make that one parent look like they're either too rigid or they're setting all the rules.
Right.
So
it becomes a recipe for disaster.
Correct. It basically creates a lot of confusion in the home. And I do think we got caught up in that for a little bit too, as if you were struggling to put down boundaries, then I would overcompensate with being more rigid with the boundaries, and then you felt like you had to undermine me because of my rigidness with the boundaries, right? So
yeah, and I see that a lot with parents.
It's common.
And I know with me going, oh yeah, mom's so rigid on this, or yeah, mom won't let you, but I'll let you, or things like that, where it kind of makes you appear like the hero. And granted, you're going to have different perspectives on things, right? I think you could jump off the roof onto the mattress, but mom doesn't think so. I mean, so there's going to be different parenting opinions and different cautions, and it's not a right or a wrong as much as just being supportive of the other parent, or at least definitely resolving those things behind the scenes, which kind of goes to another point, is this whole the importance of shared values.
Yeah, shared values are huge. If you don't have the shared value to not split, and let's make sure we really clearly define what is splitting.
Okay.
The best way I like to put it is in a triangulation. It's actually technically called Karpman's drama, but it's basically, if you look at a triangle, at one point you'll have the persecutor or the villain, the other point you will have the victim, and then the other point you will have the rescuer. So if villain, disciplinarian parent is correcting the child, poor victim, runs to rescuing parent, then what happens is the disciplinarian parent looks like the bad guy, right?
Right. It's a drama.
It's a drama.
That's why it's called Cartman's drama.
Every good soap opera is made off of triangulation.
Yes.
It is disastrous and entertaining and very unsettling for the home. And not only have we done that with each other in parenting, but also we see this to be a really big error in parenting is when you create triangulation.
Mm-hmm.
Even though that wasn't something we were perfect in, we did have the common value to not triangulate, not rescue, really help the parent to be able to work out some conflict with the child, help to parent the other parent to listen when there was a lack of receptivity to the child. And of course, counseling can be great for that as well if there's just not good listening happening.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I think as easy as that is to do sometimes, getting caught up with that drama and that triangulation and kind of side with the kids against the other parent, it's so important that, and just because you have a shared value doesn't mean you're going to be perfectly to execute that. And so
Right.
having grace for each other in that is important, but also having accountability for yourself that says, hey, I crossed that boundary, or I aligned with the kids and I allowed them to split us, and just owning that. Because what happens is, and this is what I see with a lot of kids and, even our kids, where we create fear in our kids when they don't see alignment with the parents.
Right.
Because then the child has anxiety and feels like, who's really in charge?
Correct. And then the child becomes more powerful than the parental unit.
And they know that's not how it's supposed to be.
Correct. So it creates more anxiety and it creates more distress and disorder. So if you have an anxious child, look at the parenting, look at the parental unit, and how are you parenting with your partner? Is there triangulation going on? We see this on a really disastrous level, obviously, with split families where there's a ton of parent
Which you don't
alienation.
have any control over that.
Right, which is typically really frowned upon in the court system and in the divorce classes. So if parents are doing that, or if you're doing that in divorce parenting, it is so harmful to do to the child. You're not getting back at the despised parent. You're actually really hurting the heart and the mind and the little body of the child. It's very sad to see.
Yeah, and you can reference last week's episode for some more on this, but it reminds me of what we said about when there is negative behavior or acting out in your child, you need to look at the underlying need or the emotion behind that. And it could be they're acting out because of our inconsistency or lack of togetherness in the parent, lack of unity in the parenting, and it's confusing the child, and they're acting out as a response to that.
Yeah, you're right on. You're right on. We so many times too, and we'll run into this, is that the child is blamed for their behavior, and the first thing we do is we look at the system. Like, what is creating this kind of either disrespect, anxiety, alienation, rigidity in their thinking. We deal a lot with what is going on in the culture and ethos of this child that has taught them to respond this way, and gives them permission to behave in a way that is not productive.
Right. How many times have you had a parent bring their child into therapy, really intending for the therapist to fix their child? And the first thing we do is send the child out and work on the parents. And it's so funny because I always love to align with the kid in that scenario to go, okay, we need to work with each other to help teach your parents how to parent you
Correct.
well. And I think we have so much to learn from our kids in terms of how they're reacting or responding to our parenting in order to improve our parenting.
Absolutely. I would say with that, that brings us to such a good point too, when it comes to what makes it harder for us as parents. It's already a hard job. So why are we making this harder? And that is when we continue to take on the tasks of the child. The child has their own life, their own kingdom that they have to learn how to run. They might not have as many responsibilities in their little kingdom, but they have to figure out how to get themselves dressed. It would be one responsibility, how to clean their room, these different things, how to do well at school. One of the positions we always took is mommy goes to work, daddy goes to work, and you all go to work. And they're like, no, we don't. We're like, yes, you have a job. It's called school.
Wait, how do they talk?
No, we don't. No, we don't.
Mommy, stop it.
And their job is to do well at school, to show up on
Right.
time, to catch the bus.
It's a big job.
To get up. Yeah, we would walk through that with them. So, and that we don't want to manage you on that, but we want you to manage yourself. And this is a lot of times what we'll see too is that parents are taking on the responsibilities of their child. So a lot of times this has been really fun for us to see the maybe it'll be a child and the parents, they come in and the parents are on the edge of the couch just going, my kid is flunking out of school, you know, they're getting bad reports, and the child is just sitting back playing with some silly putty I gave them, having some candy, loving life in my office. And I go, gosh, that's really interesting. And then I excuse the child and we basically say, when did this shift that you are taking the responsibility away from your child and thinking it's yours?
Right.
And what's the conversation that always comes after that?
I give up.
If I let this go, right, what's going to happen?
Oh,
Right?
right. Because I have to do it.
Yeah.
How many times has parents been so worn out? They're like, oh, I had to clean up all my kids' toys last night, and then I had to do this, and then I had to do their homework, and I had to do this, and it's like
Right.
they have this laundry list of things they're doing for their child, and we're like, wait, how old are they?
Exactly.
And why are we not holding them accountable to do? But sometimes,
Yeah.
and I get it, right?
Yeah.
Parenting is hard because sometimes it's harder to get the kid to do the task than to do it ourselves. But
Yeah.
it's kind of like we keep feeding them instead of teaching them how to fish.
That's
And
great.
I
That's
think
great.
that is so important to not get caught up with just keep doing for instead of saying, I'm going to train and teach you to do that so that I don't get resentful and bitter and angry and tired, right? Because then
Exactly.
I'm not a good parent now because of the 5th day in a row that I'm picking up your backpack or your toys or
Correct.
whatever else.
Really, one of the primary goals, and this is a hard one because we love our kids, we adore them, we'll take a bullet for them, but one of the primary tasks that we need to teach our kids is how to live life without us, how to fly the nest.
That's our job as parents is
Yeah.
to train kids to be well-functioning adults someday.
Independent adults.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we are not allowing our children to take on their own tasks to run their lives and manage their little kingdoms. We're not putting a little crown on their head and saying, hey, how are you going to do this that's going to work well for you? We don't hold their hand as they go through the difficult things or the failures. Instead, we try to protect them from the failures, and we take them and we take it from them. And in so doing, they are not allowed to develop character. They can't live life without a dependency emotionally or physical or financial on the parent.
That's so true.
And it's really a very sad scenario when we see that happening.
Yeah. Another area that I definitely was not always good at was consistency. I was inconsistently consistent.
At least you're consistent in that.
Which, that's an area where obviously with parenting, we need to wear two crowns. And,
Right.
and when dad and mom are both wearing their crown in parenting and they have that shared equality and that equal power and equal respect, it works well. And when one parent is super consistent with the expectations, with the responsibilities, all those things, and the other one is not as consistent, it really breaks down, things. And it's hard. That's the part where we said parenting is hard. And that's why we're
Yeah.
doing another episode, because that's probably when you work all day and you come home and you're tired and the kids are bickering or they're breaking the rules or doing things that they know they're not supposed to.
Right.
Sometimes it's so hard to put forth the effort to stay consistent.
Yeah. At the same time, I'm going to push back on you
Okay.
because I think there was things that you were not consistent in, like that I was more consistent in. And I think the reverse is true as well.
I would agree. I think that's the case with
And
most parents.
yeah, I think you were remarkably consistent at being on time and getting the kids where they needed to go
And
feeling,
picking them up
picking them up.
from school.
Don't talk about my low parenting moment. I forgot my children to pick them up on a minimum day. It was so sad and
Gosh,
hard and embarrassing.
Those early release days just
they threw me
really,
twice in a row. I'm like, when am I going to get this? So yes,
That's right. I think they have forgiven you for that. Finally.
Barely.
Yeah, probably last year.
there might be a small resentment.
But they
level
really
of it.
got to know the office staff.
That is where I was so grateful, honey, for your consistency.
Oh,
And where I would get maybe caught up in the moment or I would just forget some of the logistics. You made a beautiful contribution in balance.
oh.
And I think that's the other really huge point is that you're not supposed to do everything well that I do well. And I'm not supposed to do everything well that you do well.
That's why they need both of us.
Right. And I had fun strategizing about parenting and how to be good friends to our kids and how to set healthy boundaries. And
I know, but you know what you are consistent in?
what?
Is celebrating the special days.
Oh, thank you. I was hoping you would say I was consistent with outbursts. Thank you for not saying that. Oh, we're so hard on ourselves. Yes, thank you, sweetheart.
No,
I
we
did
both
love
had
that.
our outbursts, but you were so consistent in making so many special days. I don't care if it was Valentine's Day, St. Patrick's Day, Easter,
Squirrel Appreciation Day.
Squirrel Appreciation Day, Fun Fridays or Magical Mondays,
I love
or like there was so many things you did to make just life special and showing value and priority to our kids. And,
Oh, thank you.
and I know that they appreciated that too. And I did too, even though so many of those things weren't on my radar, but man, it was easy for me to get on the bandwagon and join with those things. So
Thank you, honey, for that, which I think is so what we hope for you all as our listeners is, again, back to wear two crowns, is walk in what you're strong in and rock it. Don't apologize or try to overcompensate or undercompensate for what you're not strong in. Have some humility and grace for yourself and your partner and collaborate, work together, and do what you do best. And bring that into the partnership of parenting, which is really what we preach when it comes to even just marriage. Do what you do best.
yeah, it is a partnership. And we just want to encourage you to slow down a little bit.
Yeah.
And, sometimes life is busy. And most of the time when our kids are acting out or parenting is not going well, it's usually because of the busyness, right?
Which would bring us to another hardship that is increasing the hardness of parenting. I don't know why this is, but it seems like lives have gotten so much busier. And the expectations, which we balked a lot, more so me, but I did not want to be at every practice or dance rehearsal or everything, when there was special events going on, because I love special events, right? When it's a birthday or family is into town, right? Or we want to take vacation, which we were big on family vacations. And there was a lot of pressure to give that up.
Right.
And the kids had a lot of pressure on that, which we kept saying, especially me, I'm like, this doesn't make sense. They're probably not going to make a career out of this dance stuff. So can we enjoy the life today? And I do think the busyness and the pressure we're putting on parents to be good parents is really wrecking the fiber of the home.
Yeah, and it's just too hard to sustain, and that's why there's got to be times where you just tap out and you get to, ask for help from your other parent, and I just want to speak out to those parents who are doing this alone and don't have somebody to tap when you're maxed out or you've had a hard day and you are just not at your best. But that's where, hopefully you can call a friend, and get some help, or call a family member, and not just be a lone ranger, because, as much as they, the joke of, or not the joke, but just the saying of it takes a village, I think it does. It takes a group of loving adults to really parent kids well.
I just came across a news article that was talking about single mothers coming together and doing families together.
That's cool.
Even men and women coming together that maybe is asexual, it's not a romantic relationship, and they're making a family life together. And I was like, good for you all.
There's a lot of creativity out there.
Right. To be able to offset the costs, the financial cost, as well as to be able to help with the parenting and to tag team more. And I thought, that's great. I think we have to, like you said, we have to create our village, and we have to bring people around. And our hearts do go out to the single parents, whether they find themselves in that situation. Suddenly, usually there's trauma around that.
Right.
Single parents are recovering a lot from trauma and of abandonment and sadness, and then you're still having to parent, and then you're having to do it alone. So we've just so enjoyed walking alongside of parents and being part of that village.
Oh, they're so inspiring.
They really are.
I just think it's just so powerful in what they do with the resources they have, and they're rock stars.
Right. But to that point, too, as far as being too busy, one of the things that we would encourage every family to do is, if you don't have time to parent, then you're not enjoying the children that you love the most. I mean, that is, I would think everybody would say, hey, this is one of our top priorities. But why are we putting so many other things in front of that?
Right.
And so make some adjustments. We made some very radical adjustments. We both left our careers and everything.
We did.
Yeah, to do a tag team, work less, play more. And now that's becoming a little more popular in this next generation.
I do see that more, but
they're not putting up with these 50, 60-hour work weeks. Yeah.
No, I was one of my most important decisions I made was to come home and share the parenting load with you, and I was grateful that we were both on the same page with that.
Yeah.
Very good. And obviously it goes without saying, but I think as much as you feel like quitting sometimes, we just want to encourage you.
Yeah.
Don't quit. Don't quit on yourself. Don't quit on your kids. And I understand, obviously, situations where there may be abuse in a relationship, and that, ends up forcing you to have to do the, thing you don't want to do. But even if you have a bad week or a bad day and you are just struggling, is take the break, but don't quit.
Yeah, don't quit on your kids. That is huge. And Jake's right. Take a break if you need to. Get some professional help if you need to. Take a me vacation, a me retreat. If you need to. I remember one time I did the mom was fired, and you you went along with that because the kids were not showing appreciation, and I just did.
That was traumatic.
And I was like, "Oh, I can't do that today. Mom is fired. I'm taking a break from being mom today." And the kids were so puzzled, and then they realized how much
You
that
went
I
on
did.
strike.
I went on strike. Oh, that's right. I
Yeah.
went on strike. I wanted a pay raise.
And so we doubled your pay.
You did nothing to nothing. But no, I think you're right, is that we just have to make sure we don't quit. And remember, love is free. Trust is always earned. Trust can be broken. Relationships may not be able to be reconciled, but love is always constant. It never fails. It never quits. And what that
Yes.
looks like for you as a parent will let you determine that. But that's one thing that we would just encourage, no matter if they're 2 or 22. We don't quit on our kids.
Right.
We love them. We show up for them. We set boundaries. Not quitting does not mean compliance. We say our no's. We let them know what is acceptable, what is not. But we love, we forgive. We teach them how to forgive. We teach them how to repair.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. We just commit, obviously, to loving our kids no matter what. And there's nothing our kids can do that are going to make us stop loving them. Obviously, there can be anger, and we can be very reactionary sometimes. And I just want to encourage you that if you're experiencing a lot of anger or reactionary stuff in your parenting, that's probably a good sign that you need to take a break. Or you need to do some self-care.
That's excellent. Go on strike.
Go on strike for a day and, ship the kids to camp, or, this is a good time to, send them to VBS or something. Don't apologize for, taking some respite from that process, and so that you can regroup and parent with a clearer head and mind.
Right. Absolutely. And where we have wronged, repair with our children, right? We talked about that at the last episode too, parenting episode, as far as repairing and how to repair, and making sure that we treat everybody like they have a crown on.
Yeah.
Which that I think is going to be our crown jewel. But before I go there, I just want to summarize all that we talked about, what makes parenting so hard.
Go for it.
All right. So here's the things that make parenting twice as hard. It's a job that's already hard, takes the very best out of you, and it brings the worst out of you. We empathize with you on that. We walk that journey with you. But here's what's making it harder for us, okay, is when we are setting poor boundaries, and either we're too rigid, we're overcompensating, or it's too fluid or too relaxed. We're also not having consistency in our lives and our boundaries. I can't read your point there. I'd like to say that. Oh,
we compensate for
thank
each
you.
other.
I said that right. Yeah, compensating for the past and the lack of consistency. The other thing I would say is undermining or splitting. Remember the triangulation. That, without a doubt, is job security for us. We would like to see less job security on this, and less triangulation definitely happening, not only in marriages, but in parenting and families, and in divorced families as well. The other thing would be being reactionary instead of responsive, and just coming out in anger. Like Jake said, there's a time, and it typically means we need a break. We also talked about this in the last podcast too, that it's also evidence that boundaries have been crossed and they need to be restated, and consequences given, the ABCs.
ABCs, I remember that.
Yeah, anger, boundaries,
Listen to the last episode to find out.
That's right. The other thing we're seeing is people are too busy. When you get busy, you get stressed. Guess what? You go into fear mode, right? And so you're not able to operate from a love-centered place. When we had kids, we started feeling that pressure, and they were about 2 or 3, and we were just so busy and so stressed. And we really had to make some big changes to be able to operate with more love.
Big changes.
Big changes. And so that may not be for everybody, or may not be possible for everybody. And for that, we understand. But it was a big changes for us, and it did cost us in a lot of ways.
Right.
but it's something that lived true to our values, which is also another point too, is have shared values and make sure that you and your partner are on the same page with your values.
And make sure you establish those behind the scenes so that when you're in front of the kids, you can be consistent and they can't split you.
Well said.
So,
But at the same time, it's also good to have posted family values.
ooh,
Remember,
yes.
we had a sign that talked
We
about
did.
we laugh together, we share together,
That's a great project.
we
to do.
forgive. Yeah, absolutely. We repair.
So our crown jewel for today is
Wait, I forgot one.
oh,
You
sorry.
quit on me too quick.
Oh, I quit on the list before you were done. Excuse me.
Don't quit on each other. It's probably the most important. And don't quit as parenting, but also don't quit on each other and working together, regardless if you're in the home or outside of the home. Let's come together as adults and figure out how to do the hardest but most rewarding, important job there is, parenting.
Amen to that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Now, crown jewel.
now, crown jewel.
Go.
Everyone in the family has a crown.
Oh, you love
Yeah, everyone has a crown, which means even the kids, right? Because we need to give mutual respect and love. And you know what? Love conquers all.
Love conquers all. And it's such a beautiful vision, isn't it? You have a king and a queen, a princess, a prince, right?
Yes.
And they
It's
have
the
their
whole
little-
royal family.
The whole royal family. We can't demote them and make them paupers, right? We have to teach them how to manage their kingdoms, teach them about their feelings and needs, respect it,
Right.
help them set their boundaries, respect their nose.
Exactly.
That's good, Jake. Love it.
Yeah. Well, thanks again for listening.
Thank you.
And we hope it was helpful today. And if it was, and you think somebody else would benefit, please pass it along. Subscribe if you haven't got on our website to get on our newsletter list. I would highly recommend that because you'll get a whole preview of upcoming episodes.
Absolutely. You'll also get a resource sheet that lets you know of all the resources we have, whether it's books, newsletters, podcasts, different things that makes it really easy and convenient to click on that. Thanks to our shout out, amazing podcast producer, McKenna Janae Dean Davis, who happens to be our daughter. Yeah, she's doing such a beautiful job. Thank you so much for letting us share our hearts with you about parenting. We wish you well. We hope that you live, love, and lead better together.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.